Hi, I'd like to take a moment to go over some Venn diagram shading. I've discovered a little trick, if you will, on how to best do these instead of logically thinking through them as I did in a previous presentation, putting a little bit more solid background into them. So we're going to start with just two Venn diagrams to begin with, and then we'll add in a third. So our first example is to sketch a Venn diagram and use shading to show each set. So I have A intersect B prime, or I like to think of this as the intersection of A with those that are not in B. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to label each section. We have section 1, which is the universal section, and then each piece that is partitioned off is going to get its own number. This will make things easier. So I'm first going to look at what is in A. So those parts that are in A are section 2 and 3. Then I'm going to look at those that are not in B. So section 1 and section 2 are not in B. Now I want to look for their intersection. The intersection is what is in common between the left and the right part. So the only part that's in common between 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 is 2. So the intersection of A that is not in B is section 2. So the only part that I would need to shade is section 2. Let's try the union of those that are not in A with B, and then all of that's not in it, so prime of all of that. And that seems pretty complicated, but we're going to make it easier again by labeling our pieces and almost using the order of operations. We're going to start on the inside of our parentheses and work our way out. So I'm going to first start with what are those items that are not in A. So I see those that are not in A is section 1 and section 2 and section 4. Then I'm going to label those that are part of section B. 3 and 4 are in section B. I know that the union is putting all of those parts together. So putting all of the parts together would be section 1, 3, and 4. So putting them all together. And then finally doing the prime part of this. So what is not in section 1, 3, and 4? Well, the only part that is not in section 1, 3, and 4, the only leftover would be section 2. So that's the only part that I would need to shade. Let's find the intersection of A and B prime, and then the prime of that. So I have our sections labeled. Let's first look at those pieces that are in part A. So part A is 2 and 3. Those that are not in part B are 1 and 2 are not in B. Finding their intersection, what they have in common together, where they intersect, I see is the number 2. And then what is not in section 2 so that we can identify the prime part of that. So what is not in section 2? So not section 2 is 1, 3, and 4. So those are the pieces in which we need to shade. Let's work on 3 circles. So not only do I have section 1, 2, 3, and 4, but now I've added in circle C. So I've also created sections 5, 6, 7, and 8. And the ordering of the numbers is immaterial. You can order them, label them whatever numbers you want, so it will work no matter what. I want to find the intersection of A and B union together with C prime. So there's no parentheses, so I can work left to right using the order of operations. So I'm going to first start off by identifying what is in section A, giving me 2, 3, 5, and 6. What is in section B? Section B is 3, 4, 6, and 7. I want to find where those two intersect, so the numbers in which they have in common are 3 and 6. Now, in order to union that, combine that with C prime, I need to know what is not in C. So I'm going to identify what is not in C. So what is not in C is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, union these two pieces together. The only thing that we need to look at then is section 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. So sections 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 are what need to be shaded. Let's do A intersect B prime union C. So I have my sections labeled. I'm going to first work on my inside of my parentheses and work my way out. So section A is 2, 3, 5, and 6. Section B is 3, 4, 6, and 7. Where section A intersects section B is numbers 3 and 6. Now we can find the prime part by identifying what is not in section 3 or 6. So what is not in section 3 and 6 is 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, and 8. We want to combine that with C. So I'm going to look at C, and C is sections 5, 6, 7, and 8. So if I combine all of these sections together, I see I end up with 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So those are the ones which need to be shaded. Everything but number 3 needs to be shaded. And our final example, here we have A prime union with B prime intersect C prime. So again, we have our 3 pieces. They're all labeled 1 through 8. I'm going to start inside the parentheses and work my way out, just like the order of operations would do. So I'm going to first start by looking for what is not in B. So those items that are not in B are 1, 2, 5, and 8. And now I need to identify what is not in C. So what is not in C is 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to look for where they intersect each other. So where they intersect each other is sections 1 and 2. Now before I find the union, I need to identify what is not in A. So what is not in A would be sections 1, 4, 7, and 8. Now I need to find the union of these pieces. So the union would be all of those that are included, labeled there. So 1, 2, 4, 7, and 8. So sections 1, 2, 4, 7, and 8 all need to be highlighted. I hope by labeling them using numbers and using the order of operations helps you identify better on where you need to shade for both when we have 2, an A and a B, or if we have 3, A, B, and C.